Hello everybody and welcome to my UKGE video blog. This is Z Garcia and I'm just going to be giving you here a brief look at everything that I got to see while inside the convention, the Games Expo in the UK. There was a lot going on there. As you can see here, this is day 0 and this is just setting up. This was actually my first look inside the vendor hall, which is quite an impressive space. It's very large. Everyone was setting up, as you can see here, and that first day is always a very unique experience. It's an experience that a lot of people who go to conventions don't really get to see. You don't get to see the setup and the tear down. And I remember the first time I became aware of that sort of scene, you know, that day before everyone else is there. It is amazing to be able to witness how much work goes into putting on this show and having it go smoothly. It's so much. Ooh, here we have Gil Hova right there doing his thing, setting up, getting ready for his new game Wordsy. And he had a big hit last year at this show with the networks, actually. Rory Story Cubes over there, of course, and yeah, just all the hustle bustle. This is not actually necessarily crunch time for everyone at the same time, but you know, you can sort of see everyone going at it and getting ready for the day. Here we have the double-decker bus that I had heard about before, and it is pretty neat having a double-decker bus in the convention. In fact, this was the only double-decker bus that I was on, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Later on in this footage, you'll see me jump up there and shoot some video down on the convention, which was pretty cool, and there was some gaming going on in there. But yeah, that's basically it. As I said in the intro, I was mainly focusing on, for this video blog, I wanted to focus on the convention itself, the floor. You know, I've done these kinds of videos before where I'll show you meals we had or events we did, other things we went to. But for this one, you know, we sort of figured out the other guys were going to do some of that, like Tom's video blog is going to have a lot of other things going on in it. So if you want to see outside the convention, go check those out. If you want to just see me, you know, basically showing you what was going on each of the days, then this is the one you want to stick with. Here in the back, we had they had some spots for food, and they were really, really neat. As you can see, I'm panning out here for the rest of the convention floor. Very impressive, quite big. But the food in the back was bright. The places were clean. They felt brand new, actually, and I don't know if that's true or not, if these places were just recently added. But they had a great look to them. They were welcoming. They were very well done. It just didn't seem, you know, they did not feel like they'd been there for a long time. And that was fantastic, you know, to be able to go somewhere and just step out of the way for a moment, grab a bite, grab a drink, something like that. Besides this, they had outside the convention on some of the later days, food trucks as well, which were spectacular. They were really, really nice. I won't have any footage from out there because, again, I'm sticking with the showroom floor here, but the food was excellent. And here we have our booth. We have mostly set up at this point. Obviously, our booth is considerably easier to set up than most everybody else's booth. We had a table that we borrowed from Geek & Son so that we could set up our promos on it, and of course they get to show off their gorgeous table. This is actually a prototype of a table, and then we had everything set up on there. You see our dice towers and several other pieces of you know, promos and other pieces for fundraising. So yeah, and then that's it. We covered up some things, and we are ready to head out for the day. Everybody, welcome to day 1. We have some gentlemen here. We have Dan, famed Dan over here. I'm here as well. Hello. We're working, yes. We're you know, helping out people coming by. Over here, though, Sam playing a game.
What's up, man?
So again, just to reiterate, working, playing a game. I wanted to give everyone a behind-the-scenes look at what actually happens.
From my workstation right now. I am meant to be working, actually.
Also, I should probably because someone's gonna, you know, go insane when they see the Iron Brew. We got some.
This one's mine.
That one says sugar-free. Mine say sugar plus plus. It's both a soda and a coating system. So yeah, we are in full swing here, and it's been a great day so far. We'll be back. So as you can see, that was actual audio from the show. For the most part, I am not going to be using audio from the show. For one thing, it was not great quality, but that bit would have been hard to replicate, obviously, in just voiceover. So I decided to leave that bit in, just to give you an idea of what it sounded like to actually be there. But for the most part, this is what you're going to get. I am just going to be showing you now a little bit of the floor in the hustle bustle. This was the first day. This was Friday. And the show was nicely dense. It did not feel packed, but there were plenty of people there. There was a lot of activity, lots of games being played, lots of games being sold. And I think one thing the convention does really well is strike that balance, actually, between feeling like a trade show, like you are there to purchase games, and there to discover, there to play games. It's a pretty, well done balance of the two. There were lots of these places like this one that were selling games, and I actually saw quite a few of them here, probably more than at any other convention of a similar size. Stores, what I assume are either online stores or local stores, selling games. Here we have the Pandemic Live event that I was a guest on, and in this one, basically what they do is they play Pandemic, and they broadcast it on the TV screen there behind us, the projection, and we have a few people up on stage who play through the game. Jokes are told, the audience gets to participate. The whole thing was pretty interesting and very, very lively. Quite a unique experience. This is me, day 2, up on that double-decker bus from Wotan Games, as you can see there. And it was really cool being up there. There were a lot of people playing games up there. I think they had some prototypes outside as well, and that's what they were showing off. But just the fact that they had this double-decker parked right there in the middle of the hall, and from up there you could see so much more than just being down on the ground floor. It was really cool, so I just had to be up there and get some footage. And I think it gives you a pretty good idea of sort of how busy the whole thing was, and the space between booths, that sort of thing. So really neat. I was glad I was able to go in there and check it out. And yeah, those guys really put something spectacular in the middle there. All right, so here we have our top 5 show. This was a live event that we did there, sort of like a top 10, but it was a top 5, and we have guests here. We have Efka and Elaine from No Pun Included. We basically did a top 5 gaming moments, or moments related to gaming. And the audience, as you can see, packed audience. They were fantastic. I had an absolute blast. I have to say, this was one of my favorite live events I've probably ever done. Back to the hall now, and you can see the iSchool booth was really neat. They were a big hit last year, and they were doing some very nice presentations there. I spent a solid chunk of the day sort of walking around, grabbing footage of different booths, sort of to get a feeling of the convention itself. If you haven't been to this kind of event, the convention is a nice grouping of different interests. There are lots of miniatures, as you can see here. There was a lot of X-Wing action going on. There are a lot of board games, lots of family games, card games. There was some open gaming near the back. The whole thing allows for people who just want to show up and buy new games. You can do that. So in that way, it's very similar to Origins, which is also about the same size. Games Workshop was there, of course, with Warhammer 40K, and they were showing off some really cool minis, lots of action going on there. As I've noticed and have been told, the UK is quite big on miniatures, and it makes sense. Games Workshop is from there. So here we have that open space in the back I was telling you about lots of gaming going on, and just a great feeling all around. Not crowded, but busy, lots of people learning lots of new things. It was very, very nice. Here we have another one of those shops that sells games. They are not a company that is a publisher, but just a company that sells games. And here's yet another one. So lots of these places. They had toys, they had fidget spinners, they had all these sorts of things. Here we even have one booth selling swords and selling wands, you know, magic wands, that sort of thing. So there were lots of interesting geeky things you could find if you wanted to explore a little bit farther out. A lot of my time there when I had some downtime was just walking around. I really enjoyed doing that at conventions, being able to, you know, not even play myself necessarily, but just sort of watch people play. Watch people having fun, watch the displays, the booths, that sort of thing. I find it to be very entertaining and relaxing. Day 3 was the final day of the convention, which is, I guess it's typical for most conventions to be 3 days, but I guess I was not used to it for a convention this big to only be 3 days. The third day was not as packed as the second. Certainly Saturday was the more packed day, but it still did not feel crowded. It was not uncomfortable. Here we see a little bit more cosplaying, and certainly it felt like on Sunday there was a little bit more cosplay going on. This is actually an auction that was going on, and I happened to walk by and saw a little bit of it. And this booth here just had some really interesting stuff. They had a couple of BB-8s and Loki and the Predator, just really awesome stuff. Now this here is the flea market, sort of a little flea market area, which I thought was really cool. There's not always this kind of thing at conventions this big, but I'm a huge fan of them. I love being able to walk into a space like this and maybe discover something I haven't seen in a while, something that's been out of print. Just sort of quirky game, something off the beaten path, and that moment where your eyes come across something you don't know or something you haven't seen in a long time, well, I just love that. So as you can see, lots of people were at it, and I did a little bit of browsing myself. And after I'd done that, I decided to do a little more walking around when I was not at the booth, which was most of the time, and grab some more footage. Besides the top 5 you saw, by the way, we also did there a Wits and Wagers game, and on this final day, which I did not record, we also did a Q&A with some folks in the audience in case they wanted to come in and ask us anything, and that was nice, very relaxed actually. It was very low-key, the Q&A, but it was enjoyable. And here we have sort of a showstopper miniature, which is, I have a hard time calling it a miniature, it's a scale, I guess. But I wanted to take some footage of it because it was rather impressive. Look at this. It's unbelievable. And it sort of is interesting because it speaks to the culture there a little bit, you know. The idea of it being a Euro convention does not translate to it being Euro game centric. This final day, the convention hall closed at 4, and we were wrapping everything up. Here we have Geek and Son came by to pick up their table again that they graciously lent to us. And there's Jay Howitt from Breacher 18 giving me a look. We're all wrapped up here, trying to finalize everything. But overall, the convention felt both jam-packed, it felt short, but it felt fun the whole way through. It did not... I did not feel like I was running out of things to do, but I also did not feel like I did not get to see enough. So it ended up being a very good length for everything that was there. And again, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a tear down here because you don't get to see that stuff very often. So overall, I really enjoyed the convention. I thought it was a great time. Everyone is incredibly nice and polite, incredibly welcoming and warm. Everyone who helped us out, as you can see, some of them here in this shot, were fantastic. And a big thanks to all of them for coming out, for helping us out, for helping me, certainly, who had never been there, feel welcome and at ease. So I very much enjoyed that. and I would love to go back next year. What a fantastic event, what a fantastic place. A big thanks to the UKGE for having me there, and if you've never been, then I certainly would recommend you give it a shot. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.